Hi, and welcome to the Simple Worship Conversation, which we usually call the morning program with Shannon Moore. But things are a little different today. Why don't you tell everybody who you are?
My name is Addison Gardner, and I am the Assistant Minister for Youth and Families here at University Christian Church.
And so Addison, well, by the time you see this, will have already preached this text at Simple Worship. But where we are filming now, you're preaching it this coming Sunday.
True.
It's like a time warp.
We are time travelers.
At any rate, so Addison's going to lead the discussion today, our conversation today. But I didn't give her the chair, and I didn't give her the time. And I can't promise that I won't ask any questions, but I'll try.
I will not answer them. I'll ask another.
All right. So what are we looking at today?
We are looking at Psalm 30.
Okay.
And its subtitle in this study Bible is Thanksgiving for Recovery from Grave Illness.
Oh.
Yes. So another Bible I was reading it through did not have that specific. It just said a Psalm of Thanksgiving. But as we know, throughout the Psalms, the writers, authors, collaborators that created the Psalms kind of added their own description and title. So I always think it's interesting to read that to see if I think it accurately describes the text.
Well, I went old school today. I've got the King James, and mine says, "The Lord my helper."
See?
So, all right.
So interesting.
Oh, I almost did the timer, but that's
I need
after.
to read.
Yeah.
Yes,
so read.
please.
Yeah. Okay. See, I'm trying.
I'm reading from Psalm 30. I will extol you, O Lord, for you have drawn me up and did not let my foes rejoice over me. O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you have healed me. O Lord, you brought up my soul from Sheol, restored me to life among those gone down to the pit. Sing praises to the Lord, O you his faithful ones, and give thanks to his holy name. For his anger is but for a moment. His favor is for a lifetime. Weeping may linger for the night, but joy comes with the morning. As for me, I said in my prosperity, I shall never be moved. By your favor, O Lord, you have established me as a strong mountain. You hid your face. I was dismayed. To you, O Lord, I cried, and to the Lord I made supplication. What profit is there in my death if I go down to the pit? Will the dust praise you? Will it tell of your faithfulness? Hear, O Lord, and be gracious to me. O Lord, be my helper. You have turned my mourning into dancing. You have taken off my sackcloth and clothed me with joy, so that my soul may praise you and not be silent. O Lord my God, I will give thanks to you forever.
All right. So I'll start the timer.
Wonderful.
We got 10 minutes. It has begun.
Wonderful. Shannon, I do want to ask you, what do you think the psalmist is trying to say?
Well, obviously, the psalmist has been through something and is, I think, giving God thanks for the assurance that God's going to see this person through any adversity. Probably one of the most famous lines from this, I would guess, would be that in the King James in verse 5 it says, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning." I love that so much, that no matter what we're going through, what troubles we may face, they, one way or another, will end in joy. I find great comfort in that.
My mom's name is Joy. I'm sorry, I just had to say that.
Hey, Joy.
Hey, Joy.
Hey, that's a private call.
Oh.
You have to pay for those.
Oh. Got me so concerned in this leading position. I want to bring about a part that I find rather sassy, if you will.
Okay.
And over in verses 8 through 10, we have the psalmist saying, okay, but if I died, then I can't praise you. The psalmist is like saying to God, you can't kill me yet because you need me to praise you. What do you think of that?
That's a good question. Does God need our praise? I'm not supposed to ask the questions.
No. You can ask it as if you're thinking.
I don't think God needs our praise. I think God desires our praise in that it shows that that our allegiance is to God, that our trust and love is in God. But I like where the psalmist, my Bible says David wrote this, so just for the sake of this, I'll say David, where David is coming from here, that, I got some praising to do. You want to hear it?
I know, where are the musical instruments in another psalm?
Right. Well, and I did also laugh too at verse 11. Mine says, girded me with gladness. And as a child, whenever I would read that somebody put on a girdle or was girded, it always made me giggle, and I would get that look from the Sunday school teacher. So that brought back a funny memory for me as well. But no, I think there's a little sass there. Shall the dust praise thee, mine says.
Right.
Don't think so.
That's what, if David.
Or whoever, yeah.
Is not playing around. But it's so interesting because then David continues to that next part as if, I was never actually upset with you, God, because you turned my mourning clothes into clothes of joy, right? So it's almost as if like you get sassy with your parent and then you realize like, this isn't a game anymore. We're not playing anymore. And you're like, just kidding. Look at all the things you've done for me. I'm so thankful.
I'm already happy.
Right.
See? I was right.
Oh, man. Huh. What else? What do we see at the beginning? Tell me what you think about the foes rejoicing over me.
The foes. Where?
Verse.
Has not made my foes to rejoice over me. I think it goes back to this complete trust in God. Because I am yours, because I worship you, because I love you, God. In the end, nothing's going to happen to me. I will not be defeated by my foes. When I cry to you, you're going to heal me. You've brought me up from the depths that I was in. I mean, the psalmist is showing complete and utter trust in God. I do wonder if it's there already or if this person is willing it to be. You know what I mean? Because when I first started reading this, it reminded me a lot of Psalm 40.
Right.
And I was a little confused for a second in my mind.
Yeah, because there's lines that would fit and then they don't fit.
Right, and I was like, wait, I thought it was the miry. Oh, no, that's the other one. Yeah. But so that's my big question. Because at first, this person starts talking to God, it appears, but then it sort of switches to talking about God. I wonder who they're talking to. Us or a reed or some, is that the chorus of the song?
I don't know. Maybe. I think oftentimes when I think of Psalms, I think of someone sitting down and writing a poem or something of the sorts. But what if this psalm was written over a longer period of time?
Ooh.
You know?
Yeah, like started out as a prayer maybe. And then morphed into an instruction a little bit.
Yeah, or if all of it was written and then something bad happened and this person was like, no, hold on. People need to know that, like, praising does not always immediately result in joyfulness.
Well, as I'm looking at it, we've got these first few verses that are the prayer, and then verse 4 and 5, maybe verse 6 are instruction, but then we're back to a prayer in verse 7. Can we take a look at those instructional verses for a second? Sorry.
Yes, we can.
It's very hard for me.
No, but I could tell you meant it so sincerely. Yes.
As a guest on your program.
Yes, let's look at I have an idea. Why don't we look at the instructional verses? of sing praises to the Lord, because that looks like a bunch of other psalms that we're familiar with. I mean, you and I have sung those in anthems nonstop. Yeah, so what's up with the difference between an individual prayer and this person who has some sense of authority, I guess, because they're trying to tell me to sing praises?
Sing praise, give thanks. Why? Anger endureth but a moment. So do you think this person has felt... I think that this person has felt God's anger, or felt that for whatever reason, the troubles and the trials that they've been through were caused by God's anger. They're acknowledging that God can get angry.
Right.
But it doesn't stay that way. That even when God gets angry, God doesn't live in an angry place. It's only for a moment.
What does that say about our God, if God is able to change like that?
You know, all throughout this fall, we've been looking at these various scriptures from the Old Testament. And in so many of them, God has changed God's mind. And I cannot for the life of me figure out where I land on that. And I've asked, when I was hosting,
of course,
I would ask people, how does that make you feel? This idea that God changes God's mind. And almost everybody's found a comfort in that. I'm not sure I do. I tend to view God as this stable rock, in a way, in my life. And that when everything else is on shaky ground, that my God is not. My God is, and if God is unsure, that makes me really unsure. But this person obviously thinks that God can get angry, but then goes back to a different way of thinking. But I think that's us.
Can you say more about that?
Yeah, I hope that I don't, when things go wrong, that I don't blame it on that God is angry with me. And so God made this or allowed this bad thing to happen to me. But now God changed God's mind and things have turned around for me. You know, I have trouble with that. I like to think that when bad things happen, that's just the way things are. But wow, that was fast. But that God walks with me and supports me. What about you? I know we're out of time, but I'm curious about your idea on the God changing God's mind.
One of my favorite days in class in theology, my first semester at Bright, my professor wrote a T-chart on the board and put God changes, God doesn't change. And everyone was like voting, and it got to me because I was the last one, and I was sinking in my chair.
Was it tied?
I said, Dr. Wagner, could we please just make a teeny little space in the middle? Can we please? Because I agree that I think God is the steadfast rock of a presence, and saying that presence can change is really unnerving and counters a lot of our theology, I think. But at the same time, if we're going to also claim these texts to be sacred and holy and true, then I think we have some tension to live in.
We can do that.
Oh yeah, we're capable.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on. I don't know how you end these. Well, bye. I almost said welcome again. You should end it.
Thank you for joining us. Bye.